watching News 25. Local coverage you can count on. News 25 is brought to you by J.K. Nelson Law, voted Best of Las Vegas. Give them a call, 702-727-9900.
Thank you for joining us here on News 25 and Ace Country Radio and streaming at KPVM.TV and now on Roku devices on this Monday, July 8th. Good evening, I'm Chris Palermo. Here's what's happening. A Las Vegas man has been arrested for shooting and ultimately killing his girlfriend during an argument. Rory Rosell has this story.
Las Vegas Metro has arrested 30-year-old Jimmy Ramirez following the murder of his alleged girlfriend in an apartment complex in the South Las Vegas Valley. On Wednesday, July 3rd at about 4:21 p.m., Las Vegas Metro responded to the 4300 block of South Jones Boulevard near Flamingo Road after reports of a shooting. Police say the suspect, who is in custody currently, called 911 saying that he shot his girlfriend during an argument inside of the apartment. Upon arrival, officers located the woman in her mid-30s with multiple gunshot wounds. Medical personnel transported her in critical condition to UMC, where she later passed away. The Clark County Coroner's Office has identified her as 32-year-old Megan Ruiz of Las Vegas. According to police, this couple has had prior disputes in which police have had to intervene. Ramirez was booked into the Clark County Detention Center and is facing the charge of open murder. Anyone with information on this incident can contact the Las Vegas Metro's Homicide Section at 702-828-3521. Or to remain anonymous, you can contact Crime Stoppers at 702-385-5555.
More news now. A Las Vegas man attempts to break into a police van after hearing voices in his head. Samantha Roberts has this story.
On Friday, June 28th, shortly before 10 a.m., a man named Christopher Eganloff, age 32, passed by several officers in the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department headquarters parking lot, and officers described him as wearing a jungle camouflage bulletproof vest with patches and ammunition magazine holsters while passing them and entering into areas marked with no trespassing signs and attempting to break into a police van. Eganloff was taken into police custody at police headquarters, and while detained, he spoke freely with detectives about his actions, according to the report. Eganloff told police in the past few years he had been prescribed medication and became addicted to narcotics. After he ran out of medication, he started using methamphetamines. After a prolonged usage of meth, he started hearing voices around April. He then told officers he had stopped using meth on June 26th. Eganloff also told police that he had heard two types of voices, one that he called, quote, the guiding voice, and the other one was called the, quote, anomalies, which were threatening in nature, according to the arrest report. When officers asked Eganloff why he was attempting to break into the police van, he said that a voice in his head told him that he needed to come to the police station. He also told police that his parents were dead and that he needed to get to Idaho, according to the report. Police later located his family, all of which were unharmed. While they spoke to Eganloff, officers noticed a large black military knife and a military identification card in the center of his license plate carrier. The military card was later deemed fictitious and based on a movie or video game franchise, according to the police. He also told police that he had 9 different firearms in his house, which was later confirmed by his aunt who lived with him, and these were all seized and impounded. Eganloff was later asked by police to give them an overview of his day before being found at Las Vegas Metro Police Headquarters. He told police he lived with his aunt and saw a police patrol vehicle at a house nearby his home when he heard the anomaly voice state, "Come on, he's a pedophile," according to the report. He then told them that when his aunt left to go run errands, he received a phone call with a red exclamation mark indicating to him that it was a threat, the report stated. He then said he decided not to answer the phone but heard the anomaly voice telling him to answer it. He told police he heard the voice say, "Karma's a b***. I'm going to kill all of these mother f***." Eganloff told police he then became paranoid and described it as a situation where he felt his life was threatened. He then armed himself with his tactical vest, knife, Beretta, and handguns, according to the report. He later walked to his vehicle when he heard another voice tell him to go to Idaho. While leaving his home, he noticed a black SUV and thought it was the FBI following him. At that point, he told police he drove erratically, running red lights and attempting to go to Idaho. Police asked him why he needed to go to Idaho, and he told them about an incident there a few years ago with a truck driver. While driving around Las Vegas, Eganloff told police the voices kept telling him to follow different cars, where he then eventually entered the backside of the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department headquarters and told police that he believed the police van was all part of a plan to get him to Idaho, and that is when he said he attempted to open the police van door, according to the report. Eganloff was then taken into custody by officers. Christopher Eganloff now faces several charges, which include attempted battery with a deadly weapon, tampering with a vehicle resulting in $5,000 or more in damages, trespassing, and owning or possession of a gun by a prohibited person. His next court appearance is scheduled for Tuesday, July 16th.
And a motorcyclist has passed away due to heat illness after riding in Death Valley with a few friends.
Over the weekend, a motorcyclist died from heat exposure at Death Valley National Park. Rangers reported the incident happened on Saturday, July 6th. A group of 6 motorcyclists were traveling through the park and were near Badwater Basin. One of the members died while the other was transported to Las Vegas to be treated for severe heat illness. The other 4 were treated on site and released. Preliminary data showed the temperature reached 128 degrees, which passed the official daily record for Death Valley, which Rangers said was 127 degrees in 2007. They added that the emergency medical flight helicopters were not able to respond to the scene because they cannot generally fly over 120 degrees. During the heat waves, Rangers are not recommended to go hiking, especially at lower elevations. They add that visitors should avoid the sun and seek shade or air conditioning during the hottest parts of the day. Wear loose, light-fitting clothing, wear sunscreen, wear a hat, and consider carrying a sun umbrella. You should also drink plenty of water and eat salty snacks. Officials at the Grand Canyon National Park also advised that visitors and hikers be cautious during the heat after 2 hikers died in the park last month.
More local stories coming up. You're watching News 25.
You're watching News 25. Local coverage you can count on.
Welcome back to News 25. I'm Chris Palermo. As this year's presidential race continues to ramp up, News 25 Las Vegas correspondent Maria Centers now joins us from the big city with a real news report.
While mainstream media has now framed Biden's impairment as a reason for sudden concern, an abundance of proud patriots are aware that we are one heartbeat away from Harris's reign as America's commander-in-chief. Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald J. Trump continues to pledge his allegiance to the USA with plans for the Trump Reciprocal Trade Act.
Joe Biden has run up record trade deficits, also known as losses, higher than any president in history by far. These gaping wounds are costing our country countless jobs and trillions of dollars in wealth. One of my top economic priorities will be to stem this bleeding.
The RNC Platform Committee just adopted Trump's Republican Party platform.
I will pass landmark legislation that will be known as the Trump Reciprocal Trade Act. If India, China, or any other country hits us with a 100 or 200% tariff on American-made goods, we will hit them with the same exact tariff. In other words, 100% is 100%. If they charge us, we charge them.
Trump's pro-American agenda was met with an outpour of support.
Under the Trump Reciprocal Trade Act, other countries will have 2 choices. They will get rid of their tariffs on us, or they will pay us hundreds of billions of dollars, and the United States will make an absolute fortune. There will be no more unilateral economic surrender like we've done for many, many decades. This will especially help our great farmers in Iowa and other agricultural states. and it'll help our manufacturers all across the nation.
45's platform serves as a contract to the U.S. voter, pledging, as always, an America First administration.
From all around the world, they take advantage of us, but no more. We must have fairness and reciprocity. That's the word, reciprocity. They do it to us, we do it to them. This will be a key part of our strategy to return jobs and wealth to the United States.
Reporting from Las Vegas, I'm Maria Centers with News 25, Las Vegas.
The latest campaign coverage out of Southern Nevada. And just before 9 p.m. on Sunday evening, a structure fire broke out in Wheeler Pass. News 25 caught up with Fire Chief Scott Lewis to learn more.
Last evening, just before 9 p.m., Pahrump Fire Rescue is dispatched for a report of a structure fire. This specific location was listed as a remote area of the desert behind the Pahrump Nugget. As crews were responding, we noticed a visible fire from the Highway 160 corridor. Crews then discovered that the fire had occurred in a remote area with limited access. So therefore, we supplemented the structure engines for a brush unit and kept our supporting staged apparatus and our water tender for water supply on a graded section of road leading up to the alluvial fan. Crews arrived, they found that there was no life safety issues attached to this fire. They quickly controlled it with a defensive exterior objective. There were no injuries to firefighters. The fire is suspect in nature and is under investigation. And we were also further assisted by the Nye County Sheriff's Office.
Also, a brush fire broke out in the desert behind Walmart. On Sunday afternoon, the fire spread quickly due to the winds. Fire Chief Scott Lewis gives us the details.
Yesterday afternoon, during the height of the heat, we were dispatched a report of a brush fire. The fire specifically is located on a large parcel, which was also known as the former Binion Ranch. As crews arrived, they found a smoke column developing in the center section. This was a remote area that would not allow our structure engines to gain access. Therefore, we utilized our all-wheel drive brush apparatus. They quickly found a dynamic fire. It was wind-driven. The head was identified heading south on the property. There were no immediate structure exposures. However, there was an abundance of ground cover that was in close proximity. Crews quickly extinguished the fire. We had initially requested BLM for assistance. However, their services were not required, and they were since subsequently canceled. The fire is under investigation, but is thought to be suspect in nature.
And here's an incredible story. On Sunday, July 7th, Harold Bromberger, age 94, meets with his daughter Teresa Clark, age 76, for the first time here in Pahrump. News 25 has this exclusive.
On Sunday, July 7th, Harold Bromberger, a 94-year-old Army vet, met his daughter for the first time. Harold had a girlfriend in grade school by the name of Joan Farrell, who he had relations with one night back in 1947. Afterward, Harold went into the Army in August of 1947 at the age of 17. Harold spent 3 years stationed in Korea, but was discharged 2 days before the Korean War officially started. Unbeknown to Harold, his daughter Teresa was born in October, 2 months after Harold had joined the Army. Teresa was adopted by the Clark family and grew up not knowing who her biological father was. Now, almost 77 years old, Teresa Clark talks with News 25 about how they were reunited.
I actually was born in Manhattan in 1947. I always grew up hearing I was the product of teenage people, and so I was adopted by the Clarks, hence I've had that name my whole life. Even when I married, I didn't change my name. And my husband has since died. I moved back to Colorado, where I had raised my son, and then went to Florida to catch up with friends, fell in love, got married. 20 years later, when he died, I went back to Colorado. And people were asking me my entire life, why don't you try to find your birth parents? And I'm a procrastinator. And finally, in 2016, I sent my DNA into Ancestry. And the first relative that came up was that handsome man in the kitchen. We started communicating via text and phone calls. And then his mom, this lovely lady sent in her DNA, and come to find out, the numbers looked like she was possibly an aunt or whatever. And about that time, she found my daddy, her brother. And when I was talking to John Paul, he kept telling me, don't give up. He said, my mom just found her half-brother who's building a house in Pahrump, Nevada. And he was 89 at the time. And lo and behold, a year and a half later, I found out that half-brother was my daddy. And the beginning of 2020, before COVID became a household name and a household word, and we couldn't travel, my son and I, the only child I ever had, he and I came out and we met the Brombergers. And everybody opened their hearts and their homes to me like they'd known me their whole life. And Daddy was wonderful, and ended up, he didn't know anything about me. He was in the military, and I was born in Manhattan. And it's nothing short of a God thing that I got to meet my birth father, because my adopted father had since died quite before. And life has been good, and I was blessed because I was only 2 states away in Colorado. He was in Nevada. And Linda I started talking to when she was in Charlotte, North Carolina. Then she moved to Stillwater, Oklahoma. And we're all in the western part of the country, and it's been nothing short of a blessing.
What an incredible story right here in Pahrump. We're back with more stories in a bit.
You're watching News 25. Local coverage you can count on. News 25 is brought to you by Mountain West Lawyer, Injury Attorneys, 727-9500.
Welcome back to News 25. I'm Chris Palermo, and an exciting WNBA action. Ajay Wilson makes history once again. Here's Mikey with your look at sports.
Time now for your News 25 look at sports, and streaming at KPVM.TV. And now on Roku devices, the Las Vegas Aviators beat the Oklahoma City Baseball Club 4-2 on Saturday.
That's a 2-game winning streak.
They're off to Sugar Land, Texas to play the Space Cowboys on Tuesday. The 2024 Vegas Golden Knights development camp is officially in the books, and it finished with the classic Team Red versus Team White scrimmage. The Las Vegas Aces beat the Dallas Wings on Sunday, 104-85. Next up for the Aces, they're off to Seattle to play the Storm. Ajay Wilson scored 28 points in that game and became the franchise's all-time leading scorer on Sunday. And in other sports news, I went to Cowabunga on Saturday, and I went down the Deuces Wild Ride, which is a high degree of thrills. Look at that landing. I can't believe I'm still alive. And that's your look at sports on News 25.
News 25 Weather Cam is brought to you by Lerner and Rowe Injury Attorney's Office in Pahrump. In a wreck, need a check? Call 702-877-1500.
It's the Lerner and Rowe Weather Cam. Cowabunga, dudes. The water park down there in Summerlin. And that is the way to beat the heat. We did break the all-time high record temp in Las Vegas. Complete forecast is up.
News 25 weather is brought to you by Dairy Council of Nevada, Undeniably delicious, undeniably dairy. Enjoy what's real.
Good evening, Nevada. I'm Rory Rosell here from the Channel 25 Weather Studios and streaming everywhere at KPVM.TV and now Roku. Taking a look at Nevada and up in northern Nevada, Fernley is at 105 degrees, Fallon at 106, Carson City at 101, Tonopah still in double digits, Lucky Them at 98 degrees, Goldfield at 101, Beatty at 112, Amargos at 116, Las Vegas at 111, and Death Valley is at 127 degrees. And speaking of Las Vegas, they hit an all-time record high at 120 degrees, and in the Paradise of Pahrump it is currently 113 degrees. The high today just a little while ago was 115. It was sunny today, wind blowing west at 8 miles per hour, humidity 4% today, and the sun rose this morning at 5:34 and is going to set tonight at 8:03 p.m. The humidity raises up just a little bit to 7%, and the wind continues to blow east-southeast at 7 miles per hour. The low tonight's going to be 79 degrees, and with clear skies, let's take a look at the rest of the week. It looks like we're going to have a lot of clouds in the sky throughout the rest of this week into next week, and we're going to be staying in the triple digits throughout the rest of this week into next week. We go from 115 down to 105 on Sunday, which means we have a little bit of relief, and we're staying at 105 into next week. Make sure to stay hydrated, Nevada. Back to the desk, here's Chris.
Thank you very much, Miss Rosell. Well, it's looking like next week at this time, we're back to seasonable temperatures. Hang in there and stay away from Death Valley. From all of us here at KPVM Television, make it a great night.